Why does Padme fall in love with Anakin? The reason I pose this question is because in my overanalyzing Star Wars series, which you guys should totally check out by the way, I've been watching Attack of the Clones and a thought struck my mind. It is clear why Anakin is in love with Padme. He's basically been dreaming about her for the past 10 years. But why does Padme love Anakin? What does she see in him? Because throughout most of the movie, all he does is kinda be creepy with her and complains about everything. I'm no woman, but I'm sure that if I was and I was around a guy who acted like Anakin, not only would I not be in love with him, but I would be pretty grossed out too. So this brings up the topic of the video. Why does Padme love Anakin? Sure, you guys can simply say that it's bad writing and Lucas simply needed these two to fall in love in this story, but I don't like to accept that answer. George Lucas is a deep thinker, and while he doesn't always do the best job at conveying those ideas, he always has an idea for everything. So I did some research along with reading the novelization of Attack of the Clones, and I think I've come up with a reason why Padme is in love with Anakin. For one, I actually feel that there's a strong foundation for the basis of their relationship. Wasn't executed well at all, of course, but George set up a great story overall. Essentially, Anakin and Padme are both living a very similar life. They're both in institutions in which they need to compress and hold back their emotions. This is essentially how they connect and fall in love with each other. Jedi cannot have attachments. It's ironic in a way since the Jedi themselves got so attached to this idea. I mean, look how Yoda tells Anakin in episode 3 to simply detach himself when Anakin is having visions of Padme dying. This moment here is one of the biggest reasons why I feel Anakin does end up turning to the dark side, because he is in need of deep emotional support and the Jedi aren't giving it to him. This is why he goes to Palpatine, because Palpatine is giving him that emotional support while also manipulating him. Yoda takes a different approach in The Empire Strikes Back when Luke has visions of his friend's suffering, maybe because of what happened with Anakin. So Anakin essentially is being told to not let his feelings get in the way of his choices, to just let go. Anakin of course tries to do some mental gymnastics when he tells Padme the importance of compassion, and in a way that's a form of love. But of course Anakin knows that Jedi would never allow him to love a woman, which is a major problem considering the love of his mother was so important to him. So that is how the Jedi and that institution suppress Anakin and his emotions. What about Padme? Padme was raised as a politician since she was a child and became queen at the age of what, 14? In Attack of the Clones, she tells Anakin about her time as a child and how she kinda was bred for this role. She was raised to serve, to be selfless, to think of others and the good of others before herself. She cannot let her feelings get in the way of the choices she needs to make. Everyone else comes before her, and for about 24 years of her life, that's how old she is in Attack of the Clones, she's never really done anything for herself. This kind of reminds me of Captain America's story. He spent all the movies being selfless, where at the end he gave that all up so he can have what he wants, and that's love. So Padme and Anakin are both extremely similar in that respect. Both made commitments to orders at a young age before they could get a true understanding of what those commitments meant. Both need to suppress their feelings in order to live up to the commitments they made. Both are surrounded by people who don't understand the challenges of all this. All of the other Jedi joined the Order pretty much as babies. That's all they know, is to be completely selfless. Different for Anakin, who was taken from his mother at the age of 9. Padme is surrounded by people and politicians who probably weren't thrust into politics at a young age and cannot relate to that experience. When Anakin and Padme get together, they inherently understand each other when no one else does. Essentially, the struggles each other are going through in not letting their feelings get in the way of anything is how they fall in love. When they kiss for the first time and Padme says she shouldn't have done that, it's her whole upbringing conflicting with what she wants. She knows she shouldn't be kissing Anakin, but she really wants to. This mini vacation for Anakin and Padme allow them to be selfish for once in their lives. When Anakin breaks down after his mother dies, Padme sorta understands the outburst of everything that he's been building. I think some of this is lost in the direction and mostly in the acting of episode 2. The way Anakin approaches Padme is he's kind of emotional already and trying to convince Padme they should be together when he probably should be suppressing his feelings and discovering that they're extremely similar. This is also why Anakin is so worried about losing her in Revenge of the Sith. He's losing the only person who understands and whom he can relate to. It's also a powerful motivation in saving Luke in the original trilogy. Luke is the only other person who shows Anakin/Vader this unconditional love and understanding thing in Revenge of the Sith. So Luke and Padme are extremely similar in this regard, and it probably reminds Vader of Padme's unconditional love, which no one else ever showed him since leaving his mother. Not even Obi-Wan. Anakin's father figure had unconditional love for him as he gave up on Anakin in episodes 4, 5, and 6, and said that Anakin couldn't be redeemed. Also, it sorta explains a little why Vader and Palpatine try to turn Luke to the dark side by using Luke's fears of losing his friends and his sister. That's what turned Anakin to the dark side, the fear of losing those who he loved. Vader understood Luke's desire to save his friends and his sister because he shared that same desire to save the ones he loved too. When Vader sees Luke being electrocuted by Palpatine, he's at a crossroads again. He's going to lose the only person who loves him and understands him. Luke, again, is extremely similar to Padme in that he has unconditional love for Vader. So Vader was, in a way, experiencing the loss of Padme all over again. I can go on about how it ties up thematic ideas about attachment, love, and even how it shows the Jedi Order itself was corrupted in that it was too attached to its own ideas and code which were clearly outdated. It's all beautifully woven together, and it stems from this whole plot of Anakin and Padme falling in love with each other. In any case, the story was there. I think Lucas's execution was, well, worse than iffy because by all accounts, he's not the type of director that delves deeply into character motivation, but a really deep story was set up. Maybe an actor's director would break down his backstory and then probably do a rewrite to hammer the scenes a little bit to fit the through line that they see and connect with. A really ballsy actor would do the backstory himself, find the through line, then insist on script rewrites or line changes to align with their take if a director isn't hands-on. It looks like Lucas wrote the script, gave it to the actors, and said have at it. Some directors work this way, so yeah, it doesn't make episode 2 a great movie or the romance on screen less cringeworthy, but there are really great ideas underneath it all, and it had some great potential if only it was executed right. Also, in my opinion, most of the blame can go on Lucas for writing it and directing it this way when the ideas were there. I can't speak for everyone, but I feel this is why people love the prequels so much, even though I find the movies to be so bad, because the ideas behind the prequels were so cool, and the story was really interesting and frankly a great take on the Star Wars universe. It's just the execution was so bad that at times people don't even realize how good his ideas were. People who love the prequels know the ideas that George had for this trilogy, and they see that in his movies, but they can look past the major flaws and appreciate the underlying story, while people like me see these things but it doesn't forgive how bad the movies were. Anyway, I hope I did a decent job at explaining how I perceive why Padme fell in love with Anakin. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to thank the Claude Squad, and I will see you guys next time.